Welcome back to the Trans Talk Hub podcast. I'm your host, Alyssa. Welcome, Braxton.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. Glad to have you on. Had you on a few episodes at this point.
A few.
Always glad to have you on.
Always a good time being here.
Absolutely. So today we're going to talk about, is Blaire White a good representation for the trans community? I know there's a lot of thoughts and like it's definitely a big thing within the community. If she's someone you want to listen to or be associated with, within the trans community. So we're gonna watch a video. We're gonna react to like different points throughout, and we're gonna kind of be real and speak about things on each little topic. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull up a video here. I already have it like pre-prepped and everything.
Can we have fun, or is everything so serious all the time? Today we're going to be reacting to TikTokers who hate me, which is all of them. No, really. I mean, if you're on the Commie app, if you're on the Chinese spyware app, you're not exactly part of the Blaire White army, and I would say that's okay. But it's really not. Get well soon. You may remember last time we did this, there was a woke trans activist who made a TikTok about me saying I'm a horrible representation of trans people.
Blaire White is another one of those ultra privileged trans people that I will never understand, because she hasn't struggled like most of us trans people have struggled, and so she just doesn't fully understand. She has a lot of really problematic views, and why I think she's worse than Caitlyn Jenner is because she spreads misinformation, like literally fake news. But she also, just has like really strong opinions that are very transphobic, that are very problematic, that are very racist, that are very ableist, and that are very classist. And I, think that she's the worst representation of what a trans person can be.
And you may also recognize that very same TikToker as the trans woman who was banned from the White House for stripping. So, I'm not going to say that's God. Not going to say that's karma, but what I am going to say is I paid for a voodoo priestess to make something really bad happen to you.
Dude, I stan Blaire White. I stan this woman. I think she is everything that we need, all wrapped up into one person. She's absolutely incredible. This video that she's reacting to is so infuriating, because the thing that people love to say, and I get this all the time too, constantly, well, you're so privileged, you don't know the same struggle as other trans people. Like, how do you know that? Like,
Right.
It's people that don't even know me, that don't know her, that don't know any of her life, that don't watch her content. And they make these assumptions that just because she's presenting the way she is and she's busted her ass to have everything done that she wanted done, because that's what we do as trans people, as an adult that can take care of themselves. And they want to say just because they don't agree with her, well, you don't know the struggles of other trans people. Yes, she does. Her dad was abusive. She's incredibly open about that and was not accepting of her. And he passed away before they could ever even squash any of that. I mean, that's a lot on a person's mental. She's gone through a lot. She's been beaten and assaulted and all sorts of different things, and she still is just serving queen all the time. If that's not resilience, if that's not strength, I don't know what is. And I don't understand how these loony people cannot understand that and can't and don't have respect for that. It's just so nasty. They're just nasty, vile people, just picking at whatever they can. There's no substance. Then she goes on to say that, she's transphobic and racist and spreads fake news. Okay, where's the example? It's real easy for you to say that this person does X, Y, Z. Where's your example? What did she say? What did she do? You don't have anything. And that's why you didn't say anything, because you don't have anything to bring to the table. You're just upset because she's the queen and you're not. Next.
Right, absolutely. I really respect Blair. I don't know if you've seen it, but she had like a whole YouTube video where like she sat down with a therapist and put it on YouTube. Very vulnerable moment about her whole childhood experience and everything, and put it out to the world. I think is like, to show people like, hey, for one, therapy is not a bad thing, but like, sometimes it's important to be raw and real about your experiences. And I don't think I've ever seen any of these claims from Blair. If anything,
Nope.
I mean, sure, she can be outspoken at times, but I think even watching through some of this video, she talks about certain things, and maybe why she has some of the takes she does, and to me, it makes sense.
Right. And I like that I'm really glad you brought up the therapy thing, because I found a video last night actually, and it's like a 4.5 hour long video of this girl breaking down that exact video. And she's like trying her best to find where Blair went wrong, where Blair is wrong, and where she's lying to us. So the guy who did the therapy session is an actor. He was on Gilmore Girls. So yes, he is technically an actor. He is also certified. He's not like what's the word? He's not like a traditional therapist, right? I think it's called core energetics is what they're about. A lot of people think it's a cult, this, that, and the other. I did my research. I haven't found any. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, right? But I haven't found anything to prove that this thing that he's a part of is a cult in any way. It is about healing, and it's like it's its own form of therapeutic healing, and that's what it was. And I think it's really disgusting that people are trying to pick apart this video where Blair is being so incredibly vulnerable, where there is not another instance of that ever happening really in her career. Like, she's kind of talked about things and hinted at them. She hasn't really gone into depth with them though. And she was so, because of all this hate she gets and all these people saying how privileged she is, she's like, cool, let me show you. Let me give you the proof that y'all seem to don't think that exists. And here it is. And y'all are still going to find a reason to pick it apart. And she's just put herself out there for people to understand that she is also a person. And all you can do is pick her apart. It's gross. Like, I loved that video. I cried. Like, I bawled watching that video because I've felt very connected to Blair for a long time. I've watched her videos for a really long time. She was the first person that made me feel like I was sane. When I started having more, conservative leaning thoughts, I thought I was a piece of shit because of what other people were telling me. And then I find Blair and she thinks the exact same way I do. And I was like, oh my God, I'm not crazy. Like, it's okay to have your own thoughts. And other people I don't expect to, relate to that. They didn't have that same experience. But for y'all to just bash this person and you don't even know her and she's being vulnerable and she's trying, like, it just says a lot more about you than it ever will about her. That's all I got.
It really, yeah, it really does. And the thing is that I see this a lot, not even just with Blair, but like anybody, like a trans woman who's really put together. Oh, well, they got it through something. Like, somebody took care of them. Somebody
Right.
did this. They didn't have to struggle for it. They were given everything. You know what I mean? But how do you know that? Like, you don't know these people's lives. You don't know like what they've gone through in order to
Yep.
accomplish what they've accomplished. And just because somebody looks really good, I mean, Blair's definitely, I'm going to say it, is top 1% of all trans women for sure.
Yes.
Like, she is. I mean, as a trans woman, I can admit that she is top 1%.
Yeah, I mean, in that no jumper interview that she did with Buck and the three other trans women, I mean, like I said, I think her name is Elena, but the woman that was sitting in the middle on the left made a comment about fucking the doctor to get your surgeries in that interview, and it's just like Blair would never, and so it just shows like this huge difference, and especially when you put those two people up, and it's like, which one are you gonna follow in your community? It's Blair. Every time, without question, no hesitation, it's Blair because of these reasons. She's done everything for herself. They're just mad
Right.
because she's been successful.
She's always composed too.
Yes.
We talked about this before the podcast, but like even in that like no jumper podcast, she was a totally different person.
Yes.
Like solo by herself. Sure, she might be a little bit more catty, a little bit
Sure.
more blunt with some points, but it makes sense. But she's respectful when she's around other people. She
Very much
keeps
so.
those things in mind. She doesn't deter from her, like what she stands on. She does
Correct.
stand on that very much, but
Yes.
she still speaks in a elegant way to share those thoughts and how she views those things.
Yep. That's why I love this woman.
Absolutely. So I'm gonna go ahead and let me swap this here. There we go.
So let's react to some more and see what happens to them 9 months from now.
I'm weaker. I'm stupider. I'm an idiot. I'm a f***ing idiot.
Well, let me just say, when someone tells you who they are, believe them. And you're the one chanting how you're an idiot right now. Gotta say it fits. You know, I've been saying this. Can cool people please take back colored hair? Because every time I see someone with green hair and Blaire White in the tags, I just know it's going to be negative. Like, I should not be able to just tell via your hair color that you're a non-binary communist who snorts their antidepressants, but I can, and that's an issue. So if we could just take back colored hair, maybe, you know, if it gets cool enough again, I'll join you. I would love to maybe put some like pink tips or something, just, you know, something not annoying.
I would love to see Blair with pink tips.
I know,
Just to
right?
get that, like Blair with colored hair, I think would just send me. Okay, my wig would be snatched, right? Like, I would love to see that. But no, like, yeah, it's just. I mean, she's got a point, right? Like, I hate to say it, but a lot of the times, like, that's why I stopped coloring my hair. My hair used to be a very similar color to this, and I would dye it like blonde and pink and blues and all sorts of stuff. I didn't care. And then this started getting really big, and I was like, nah, I don't want to be associated with that at all. I'm good. And it sucks because I really enjoyed dyeing my hair. But I'm with Blair on this. Like, you just can't anymore. There's so many assumptions behind the hair color, which is crazy. It's crazy. They not only have they hijacked the trans community, they've also hijacked cool hair colors. Like, when is it enough for you guys? What else are you gonna take? Like, my goodness. And then to say that she's an idiot just because she, is siding with the far right conservatives, like, no, she can think for herself, babe. She's an independent thinker. That would be the exact opposite of an idiot, actually.
I totally agree. And it's like, yeah, I mean, like you said, they've hijacked it, like I don't think there's like anyone who's not a part of that who wants to have colored hair thinks twice,
Yeah.
because it's like, oh wow, I don't want to be associated with the people who speak like they speak, you know what I mean, or have
Yep.
that their thought process, like, and it sucks because it's such like an artistic thing, and it's like you don't even hardly want to do it because then you're associated with all of them. It's very
Exactly.
frustrating, and I get it. I mean, of course, I know I'm over here with the colored hair in a way, but not the same way, and
It's different though, yeah.
it is
It's
much
different.
But I mean, yeah, like I really I love Blair, and I love the way she puts things because she's real.
Yeah,
Like, anyone who's offended by this, it's probably because you're one of those people. Let's just be
exactly.
honest.
Exactly. 100%.
Yeah, it's one of the oldest things. If the shoe fits, wear it. I mean, and I think
Exactly.
that's what it is. All these people get upset, but it's like when you're upset about these things, it speaks volumes on you.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting, like, why didn't they just choose to put, like, a picture of Blair? Why are you lip syncing to I'm an idiot? It gives that you're an idiot. It just does. And again, if the shoe fits, babe, wear it.
Exactly. Absolutely. All right, I'm going to go ahead and continue this.
Girl, please be serious, because how are you going to post this? All right, so you posted that when you have a full video on YouTube explaining why you kept your penis. And I'm not judging what you did. I don't care what anyone does with their body. Keep it, get rid of it. I don't really care. But what is this tweet? And this isn't the first time you have used the same exact images and the same exact words. Who are you trying to pander to? Obviously conservatives, but why? How much are they paying you? Because I want to get in on some of that action then.
So it really is also a hallmark of the wokey that they are unable to perceive humor. So me making a joke, me making a comical tweet that went viral because it was that funny, of course, goes right over their heads. And of course, because these type of people only project how they actually feel about minorities, me making a joke or me having a certain opinion or me saying anything has to be pandering to someone. It can't just be genuinely coming out of my mouth and genuine to who I am. It can't just be a joke I'm making. It has to be me trying to pander to someone. Well, I promise you it's not that deep. It's certainly not any deeper than the hole that exists in your brain.
So the problem that I have with Blair.
Yeah, I love the, like, I don't care, but let me make a whole video about it. I'm not judging, but let me make a whole video about it. And then that comment at the end, like, what are they paying you? Because I want to get in on some of that action. that's how you're gonna end the video? Really? Like, that's pretty telling. That's really telling. And I think the whole pandering comment really is just like, it's kind of them like deflecting what they are doing with the left onto other people. Like, they think that just because a trans person has a thought, it has to be because they're trying to fit in to this space, because that's what y'all do. That's called projection, honey. That's not a, you didn't eat, right? It wasn't an independent thought. It's always the same regurgitated bullshit that is, it's baseless. There's no backing to it. It's just ridiculous. And then to bring up the video of where she's decided to keep her penis, like, that's not related. It is a joke. It was funny. It's a funny joke. We can't laugh at anything anymore. At anything. It's like the Dave Chappelle shit, dude. People were losing their mind over Dave Chappelle. I'm sorry. That shit was funny. Like, I make trans jokes all the time because it's funny. And honestly, sometimes you just gotta learn to laugh at yourself. It's not that deep. Y'all take everything so seriously, and it's just not that deep. Guys, like, do you laugh at all? Do you have fun? Like, I'm worried about y'all. I'm genuinely worried at this point. Like, do y'all not know what fun is? That's sad. I'm just sad for them.
Honestly, yeah, because it's like I'm the same way. Like I can laugh at a lot of these jokes that are out there, and I don't
Yeah.
understand why people can't. Like, why do you got to be offended? Like, it's like, and to think like I don't understand people's thought process at what the things when they read the things that Blair posts. Why do they immediately go to the furthest like thing away from what it actually is? You know what I
Yep.
mean?
It's
It's
reaching.
crazy.
They're so well practiced in reaching for anything that they can at this point that it just shows up in everything that they do. They're just trying so hard to make a point because they are so mad about Blair's existence, and it's just silly because, like, she doesn't even care. Like, sure, she's doing the reactions, but it's to show, like, this is proof. Like, y'all are crazy, and she's doing a great job of proving it. Because so far, I am convinced.
Absolutely, me too. And I want to kind of circle back to something you said earlier because I really agree with you here.
Mhm.
I think Blair was probably the first person that I watched who I was like, wait a minute, I share a lot of the same values and
Yep.
thought process as Blair, but like I thought I couldn't. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And
Yep.
and I guess now, you know, it's really nice to see that there's more people like us within the trans community. That there is, it might be very small, but it's like we do have you know, like our version within inside the community.
Right.
It's very minimal, but you know, at least because I thought like, wow, you know, should I not be thinking like this? Is this person wrong? And then I looked back and I was like, no, like
Nope.
there's too much truth to this to be wrong.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, and I really try to watch anything, whether it's Blair or any creator, doesn't matter. Anything that I am ingesting that has to do with these kinds of things, I'm very open-minded, right? Like, I am just taking in the information that I am getting, and then I process that for myself and I make a decision. Never once has Blair made a point that I haven't agreed with. I think there's sometimes where, you know, she, like I've said, you know, she gets a little too catty sometimes and she's just kind of popping off. And there's times where, like, you know, she'll say something about a creator, and I've watched a lot of this creator's videos. Not that I agree with the creator, but I know a little bit more about the depth of who that person is, and she'll kind of get something wrong. But if that's the worst of it, and it's just that, it's not anything that's misinformation. It's not anything that's racist. It's not anything that's transphobic inherently. Like, nothing, there's no way to prove any of those things. You know, she's a human, you know, sometimes she's going to make mistakes, but she's pretty solid. She does her research. She knows what she's talking about. She's so well articulated, especially when you watch her debates, like, outside of her channel, like we were talking about earlier. Like, she's just so poised and really knows her stuff. And there's just no denying that. The people that hate her really just, they don't listen. You can tell they're either not listening or they've never actually watched her content. And you can tell, it shows. I've watched every single Blaire White video that there is to see at this point. I'm like literally chomping at the bit, waiting for each new video to come out. And at this point, Blair, if you see this, it's too long in between, okay? I'm over here fiending, okay? I need more. but I've watched all of them, and she's consistent. She knows what she's talking about, and she comes with the facts, dude. Like you can't logically hate her with a reason. There's no reason. I think it really just comes down to jealousy.
At the end of the day, that's what it is, honestly.
Yeah.
And I want to kind of speak to something you said there too, is about like her research and things, and she's human, right? So maybe she gets something wrong. I've actually seen a video from her where she spoke to that a little bit and says, "Hey,
Yes.
look, I might get something wrong.
Yep.
Let me know. I'll look into it. But she does. You can tell she puts effort, and I remember verbatim she saying something like that in the sense of, I might get something wrong from time to time, but
Right.
and then states her point and
Yep.
based off what she does have. And
It's like that
yeah,
video with the
I respect
lesbian
it.
flag, and she's like, she didn't know it was the lesbian flag, and then she found out. She's like, sorry, lesbians, but she's like, but your flag is ugly. So it's like she understood, like, yeah, I got that wrong. Like, I still stand by what I said, but I was wrong. Like, she's not afraid to admit when she is wrong. There's instances of that happening throughout her entire career on YouTube. I mean, there just is. You can find them easily. It doesn't take a lot. Just go watch her videos, So it's just crazy to me that people are like really gung ho about her being this awful person. Like, she's one of the only people that I've ever seen openly admit when she's wrong and just move right past it. It's just, I don't know. It's crazy to me that people don't see that she is not bad representation for our community at all. If anything, she is the representation we have been dying for. Like, Mother Blair will save us. Okay.
Exactly.
It's
I
crazy.
feel the same way. And the thing is that I think that's a big problem for people is they don't know how to admit when they're wrong. I'm a person that I'll tell you like, hey, look, I was wrong.
Yep.
I'm sorry. I should have did more. Like I welcome people to tell me like, hey, by the way, on that podcast you mentioned this. It was actually this. Oh, cool.
Right.
Thank you. I really appreciate
Yep.
that. I'll watch my words next time. Thank you. You know what I mean? Like I'm okay with being wrong, and I'll admit it. If I ever said something wrong on the podcast, let me know. I'll
For
on
sure.
the next one.
Yeah,
I'll make
same.
up for it.
Same. Yeah, because I think, our goal here, very similar to Blair, is not to pander, right? It's not to just be famous or to have people recognize us. It's because we are a genuine part of the trans community. We are actual trans people that are being affected, and we're seeing the effects of what's going on in our own personal lives. We feel for the other people that have experienced the things that we have, that do go through this, that are trans, and we don't want them to have to live with that. So we're trying to make a difference. So it's not, we of course, we want to give you the best, most accurate representation of things, the best information that we can. We don't ever want to lie to people, right? But we are humans and we make mistakes. And I think that that's like, people just don't allow Blair to be a human. Like, they think that she's just supposed to be this perfect robot that gets everything right all the time, does everything right all the time. That is so incredibly unrealistic. Like, I would love to ask these people, like, you've never made a mistake in your life. You've never said one wrong thing in your life ever. Like, you're perfect. It just doesn't make sense. Like you can't have those types of expectations when you can't even live up to them yourself.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you. I'm actually really interested in showing this part here because this one I think she clears up a lot of things that people need to hear here. So if anyone's watching or just listening in general, maybe through Spotify or something, please pay attention to this section.
Yes.
White and a lot of other people have is that like she's the most transgender person. And like what I mean by that is she very much like expects everyone that is transgender to be very like binary. She kind of like invalidates trans people by saying they're not, masculine or feminine enough, or if they haven't had enough surgeries, they're not trans. And she's like a Republican Trump supporter. Like,
so one of the funniest things about being a public figure is that people just tend to create little narratives about you, and it just is true because enough people say it. So people love saying that I sit up here and really make videos judging people's passability or how feminine or masculine they are, when in reality, that's actually just not true. Like, if I bring up a person's looks, it's because it's relevant to the argument that that person is making. For example,
Yep.
You want to be called a they, them. Why do you look entirely like a woman? You want to be called he and you are wearing a push-up bra. Your appearance is probably relevant in why you're not getting called he, him. So the lie that not having enough surgeries means that I don't think you're trans enough. No, the line I've always drawn is you're not trans if you don't transition, which is a very common sense line to draw. It's kind of the bare minimum. It's kind of like saying a man who isn't attracted to men is gay, or like a woman who isn't attracted to women is a lesbian. No, there are very simple definitions for these things. And so those definitions are often important. And I've only ever had one surgery in my life. So I'm not exactly seeing why you think that I believe trans people have to have all these surgeries. No, it's just there should be some transition taking place if you call yourself a trans person.
She nailed
No
it.
lies detected.
None. Not a. Where is the lie? Like, it's, yeah. And the thing is that I think is really crazy about this, and I love the way that she articulated this, is that this person, whoever they are, starts the video with Blair is the most anti-trans person. If somebody is telling you, like, you want to be called they them, but you look like a woman and you've got long hair and a push-up bra and all this stuff, right? Don't you think that somebody telling you what would help you be called what you want to be called comes from a place of caring about you? I mean, that seems pretty easy to detect for me. Like, that's like you and I, right? We've been talking about how, like, obviously we've done several episodes together. We talk outside of this. We're getting a lot closer. So, you have come to me and asked me, like, hey, how does my voice sound? Or, this, that, and the other. And I'm going to give you the most honest answer. It's not because I don't like you. It's the exact opposite of that. It's because you, of course, want to pass as a woman the same way I want to pass as a man. We understand each other in that realm. So yeah, we're going to be honest with each other. I'm like, okay, yeah, if you have a beard, well, I'm probably not going to call you a woman. And I know that's not what you want. So maybe don't do that. And again, I know that Blair gets catty about it, but does she have a point? Absolutely. So what really matters here? And it's so crazy that they're like, oh, she's so anti-trans. She's trying to help you pass. She's trying to help you get the things that you want out of life, and you just, all you can do is bash her. It just shows how weak-minded these people really are, and they are just so locked in their own little bubble that they cannot grasp reality. It's truly terrifying for where we're moving right now, and that these are the people that are the loudest in the room every time, and you don't even have a lick of sense. It's crazy.
Yeah, I think it's back to like people getting offended over things they shouldn't get offended over.
Yes.
And what I mean by that is, like, just like she said, she only says these things to help. Like, yeah, if you're non-binary, but like you look like a whole woman, you're gonna be gendered as a female.
Yep.
Like, it's just what it is, and it's like she is trying to help. I know you're taking it offensively, but you don't need to. She's
Yep.
not doing this from a bad place. And
Right.
what I really love is that she talked about like how many surgeries she's had, and it's like, if she's only had this many surgeries, how could she tell everyone that you haven't had enough surgeries?
Exactly.
It's like that was the realist. Like, both of those things are really big, what she said. But I think that part, because I think that is very true, that a lot of people think that Blair thinks you have to have FFS, you have to go have a breast augmentation, you have to have bottom surgery, all this. She hasn't even had bottom surgery. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So it's like a lot of these things are just so misconstrued. And I think, honestly, at the end of the day, somebody hears something about Blair White. They don't actually watch her content.
Yes.
You have to watch it before you go and you have an opinion on it.
Yep. It's all just baseless.
Honestly. So I'm going to go ahead and pick up on the next little part here.
Let's do it. I'm
How
excited.
did we get here? How did this happen? Did the frogs finally get to him? Did the frogs bring up some good points? Like, I know they're both bad people. I'm just confused. That's all.
You stay confused, babe. Because oftentimes, if you're confused and everyone else is kind of understanding, the problem might be you.
That is truth. That is real truth.
There was just no substance to that video. There was no substance to that video. And like the whole, I love how people like hop on Alex Jones about the gay frogs thing. Like, there are, now the way that he went about it Sure. It was very entertaining, right? Turning all freaking frogs gay. Like, sure, I quote that all the time. There's like a EDM remix of that, and it's gold, right? It's so good. But he wasn't not telling the truth. Like, there are actual documents about what he was talking about, where these, things that were leaking into the water were in fact like affecting the frogs. Now, do I think that it was making them all gay? Maybe not necessarily, but it was affecting like their biology, right, and their makeup and stuff. Like, there was things happening with. It's just crazy that people are like still so hung up on that. But even still, like, there was just no substance to this video. Like, all you said was, I know they're both terrible people. Why are they terrible people? You just think they're terrible people because people have told you. You're not giving, like, every single one of these I've watched, there's been no substance, there's been no backing, no proof, no examples, no nothing. What are you talking about? And then what's even crazier is that there is no backing in this, and some people will just take that video and run with it and say they hate Blaire White. And now you have no backing, and now you're adding on to the moronic bullshit of people talking out their ass without any actual information. Prove your point. Right? I know you had to have gone to school. In the math problem where you got to work it all out. You need to show your work, babe. Where is it? Because right now it's a big fat 0 on that paper. Like, you're not passing. You got to show your work, babe. It's crazy.
Right. Provide some context. I mean, you can't just go and say someone's a bad person without explaining why they're a bad person. Because
Exactly.
that immediately invalidates your whole argument. If you're going to say someone's bad and you don't provide context, are they?
Exactly.
Or do you
I'm
just not
supposed
like
to
them
believe
for your
you?
own personal reasons?
I don't know you. I don't know who you are. What if you're a bad person? But I'm not telling you you're a bad person. Why? Because I don't know you. So it's not that and that's the thing too, is like, even in these reactions, like, my only issue with these people is that you're not giving any backup. I'm not sitting here telling you you're a terrible person because you've, I mean, I could, I guess, because you're very blatantly lying about another person on the internet, which would make you the bad person. But even still, we're not saying that. Blaire hasn't even said that, and she could. So, like, really, who's the problem here?
Absolutely.
Blaire White to stick her head in a pool full of lava because she's a f***ing awful.
I can smell this video.
I recently watched a video where Blaire White and Jeffree Star both were agreeing that they, them pronouns are not valid. And I have a question for the transgender and trans supporting people who agree with this. What is a transgender person to do when ontologically they do not fit into either category neatly? Are they supposed to affirm their gender against physical appearances, or stay closeted for the rest of their life? Or maybe, does it make more sense for them to go by gender neutral pronouns to kind of meet society where it's at?
So my response would be, you're not meeting society where it's at by adopting they, them pronouns. You're actually going against society, because people who subscribe to gender ideology can try as hard as they want to make they, them a thing, but it's just not going to happen.
Gretchen, stop trying to make
the they and them
happen. It's not going to happen.
It's an unnatural way of speaking. It doesn't make sense.
God.
And all I'm saying is, you can go by whatever pronouns you want, and you are free to do that. However, the expectation for people around you, especially strangers, to just know that you go by they, them, and if you don't, you're filming them in the drive-thru like we see so often on TikTok. You're yelling at people on the street. You're upset because they didn't call you a they, them. That's a you problem, baby girl. People don't speak that way. People don't use they, them for an individual person they see right in front of them and for which they can see their secondary sex characteristics. The only time they, them is used for an individual person is if their secondary sex characteristics are not clearly visible, like someone cut you off in traffic, but you can't see who's driving the car who did it. Oh, they cut me off. You're not going to say he or she because you can't really see. But 99% of the time, when an individual is standing in front of you, your brain is registering them as male or female, and you're going to inherently say he or she. So it's just not a natural way of speaking, and you're not going to get people to start using it. Sorry, it's just not going to happen.
My answer to that is they're not trans.
Yes.
I mean, that you're asking, what are the trans people that don't fit in, that they're not trans? That's not trans. It's different. And I got on TikTok live yesterday and I was talking to an individual about this, and that, they hopped up on the panel and they were saying, well, I watched, a live of yours a long time ago, and you had said something about like, you don't believe that non-binary is trans. And I'm just curious as to why. And I was like, I want to make it clear. I don't think that non-binary is invalid. I think that are people. They obviously exist. It's not about just demonizing these people. It's just different than trans. It's different than what you, me, Buck, Blair, any of these people are. It's just different. And I don't understand why that is such a hard concept to understand. And they're like, they don't understand that regardless of how you try to paint this, it's still male and female, right? Because even in the conversation, and I want to make it clear, like, this person was actually very respectful, and we had a fantastic conversation. We never got to a place where we agreed on things. They kept trying to, like, make me understand, like, that, well, two-spirit proves that it's not just male and female. I'm like, yeah, but what is the basis of that? What is the derivative of the two-spirit? It still comes from male and female. There's no explanation you can give me, no gender you can give me that doesn't come from being derivative of male and female. There is still a binary. If you want to be somewhere in the middle of that, I mean, I've always called it androgyny. I think androgyny has always been around. I think we've just kind of put a new name on it, but it's just different. It's not the same. So if you don't feel a connection to that binary, you're not trans. Because if that was the case and you were trans, why do we even need the word non-binary tied to it? It just doesn't make any sense to me. And then they want to, like, bring it's just so crazy. This whole thing is crazy. Again, it's no hate to my NB babies out there, right? But you're just not like me. You're not trans. I hate to be the one to break it to you, but that is one that I will not budge on. Like, we are not the same. We're just not. Our experiences are different. The journey is different, which everybody's journey is individualized, right? But there's more similarities between, like, my journey and Blair's journey and your journey and Blair's journey than, like, mine and some non-binary person. It's just very different.
I totally agree with you. And the thing is that I'm seeing more and more trans men and women who are coming out and speaking out against non-binary people and the fact that they're not trans.
Yep.
If you didn't go to a therapist and get a gender dysphoria diagnosis and all of this, you're not trans. And,
Yep.
Kind of like Blair said earlier, part of being trans is transitioning. Like,
Yes.
I know some people say, like, oh, if you don't transition, you're not trans. It's like, well, I don't know, because, like, for me, like, I get it. There's a lot of financial things to it and everything.
Right.
This is not
Right.
easy. You should not.
No.
Nobody in this world should want to be trans, because it is such a struggle, both mentally, physically, things like that. There's so much to it, and I think that if you're truly trans, you experience gender dysphoria, you're going to do everything you can to transition. It doesn't matter. You're not gonna stop at nothing to trans, and not everything is difficult. How much do
Right.
razors cost? Let's be real. They're not that expensive.
Exactly.
Makeup, okay?
Exactly.
You don't have to go out and go to Sephora or go to Ulta.
Yep.
I mean, Dollar General has makeup, right? I mean, there's nothing wrong with the little
It's just
Maybelline or anything like
basics.
that.
It's basics, and the thing, like, we're talking about, like, you have to transition to be trans. This non-binary person I was talking to yesterday, they've had top surgery, they're on testosterone, they're doing all these things. They are doing similar things to that of a trans person. But what they said that I even was like, I still don't understand how you're not seeing that this is a different thing, is that they were saying that when they were presenting as a trans man, they realized that didn't feel quite right. Like, trans man didn't feel like they were totally cool with the surgery and the taking the testosterone, and kind of, they kind of sound more like a gay man, right? Like, their voice is a little different than mine. So they've got, like, the androgyny kind of kicking, right? And they were like, no, I think that I identify more with the non-binary thing. I'm like, even just in that thought, you have told me that trans and non-binary are different things, because you did not feel comfortable presenting as a trans man, whereas I feel 100% comfortable as a trans man, and I would not feel comfortable presenting as this, like, somewhere in the middle androgynous type person where there's feminine and masculine aspects. No, I just want to be masculine. There's a difference. It's blatant.
A massive difference.
Exactly.
And yeah, I love that you spoke to that person. I think it was there for a good majority of it.
Yeah, it was a great conversation. It really was. And I learned a lot. Like, unfortunately, they still weren't quite understanding what I was saying, but it was very respectful, which was really nice and definitely a change of pace. And, I invited them back if they ever want to come talk again. But, and even then it's like we still had this great conversation and they were understanding what I was saying and they still just could not grasp that it was like you could tell they were just trying any way they could to not understand that, to still prove me wrong, and it's like there's no like this is it. It's period, end of sentence. Like I've proven it wrong. I'm sorry, but this is just what it is, So I don't know that there's really a lot of getting through to them. Not all of them.
I know that's kind of how I feel right now. It's like it doesn't matter how you put it, and I love the fact that they broke it down to you like that because they basically they conceded without
Yes.
realizing they conceded.
Exactly. Yep.
I cut that bitch head off and walk away giggling. It do not make sense to me.
Imagine holding a political position because you want people to like you rather than because you genuinely think it's true. Can't relate. Not a collectivist over here. Not wanting to be part of some group. Just wanting to say things how I see it.
Mm-hmm.
And that has all to do with who likes it or who doesn't like it. Plenty of conservatives do not like it. I'm hated by it. Plenty of conservatives. But I'm hated by a lot more liberals. I will say that. And if we're just going to measure which side has treated me better over the years, I think anyone knows the answer.
Creator Blaire White.
Yep. I cannot agree more with this one. Like there's a person from my hometown, and God, I hope they watch this video because they love it when I talk about them. Clearly they lose their mind. Which I'm obviously not going to get into any specifics. They can just, infer, right? But she's a trans woman. I've been transitioning for maybe 2-3 years, something. I knew them before they had transitioned. And they are just on my ass all the time about anything I post. I did a video with Buck, and they swore up and down that I was talking about them in this video, and that like Buck was saying really awful things about them. And I'm like, baby girl, Buck doesn't know you. And she's like, well, you're just pandering and bootlicking, and you just want them to love you so bad, and you're such a pick-me, and they're never gonna love you, and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, dude, where are you getting this from? Like, I can't just have my own thoughts. Like, just because my thoughts upset you and you don't agree with them, they must not be my own, especially because I'm trans. Like, honestly, that's kind of transphobic to assume that I can't think for myself, right? Like, if that's the game we want to play, I can play. That's fine. Like, I know, like, I can think for myself. I'm a grown up. Like, I've gone through, and it's crazy too because it's always these people who are like super, super early on in transition trying to come for somebody who's been doing this for 10 years. Like, you can't tell me nothing, babe. I've already been this insecure, not knowing who you are bullshit, running from everything. I've already been through that. I've already grown through that. Like, I know how to think for myself now. And I'm so glad that I do. I'm very proud of where I've gotten to. And it's just absolutely absurd that these people think that we can't just form our own thoughts. And Blair is absolutely right. There are conservatives that hate me. There are liberals that hate me. But it is a lot more hate and a lot more dense, violent comments from the left that I get as opposed to the right. Most of the people on the right are like, oh, you got a neck beard, or it's like something about like my appearance, right? I have never gotten a death threat from the right. Not once. I have gotten several from the left. Not that I'm afraid, and they're not going to do anything. You don't know who I am or where I'm at, but it's just very telling, and it's crazy that these are the ones that are like, well, you're just a pick-me. Okay, for sure. And again, no backup, no proof. It's baseless. Like we're seeing a theme here.
Well, I think like the biggest thing that speaks volumes, and I've seen this a ton, especially watching your lives, is that as soon as you make a point, they get so frustrated, and you maintain your calmness the whole
Every time.
live. And
Every time.
yet, but they're coming for you like crazy. They're upset. I feel like it speaks a lot of volumes if you get so frustrated about something and you can't just have a conversation. That means you're so affected by this. You're so passionate about something that you can't even listen and have a normal human conversation.
Yep. Well, because at that point, they're not thinking for themselves. Their emotions are doing the thinking. It's not you logically working through anything. It's you allowing your emotions to run rampant and make the decisions and the thought processes for you. So you're the one not thinking for yourself. You're allowing your emotions to overrun you. There's a big difference.
Absolutely.
White wants you to know that yes, she is prettier than you.
In other news, I am having a FFS next Friday specifically so that Blaire White can never say that again. This surgery is not for gender affirmation, it's for gender retaliation.
So you're getting surgery so that I can never tell you that I'm prettier than you again when I have never said that in my life. Sounds healthy. Sounds like a totally rational reason to cut your face up. Did you tell the doctor that first? Shout out to you. Hope your surgery goes well. But I didn't even know you existed, sis. And it really is such a crazy thing to me. Like, reacting to people who are making TikToks about me really gives me a clearer view, I guess, of like the public perception of me, especially from people who don't like me, obviously. But 99% of the time, it has to do with looks. It has to do with people saying that I feel like I look better than people, or I'm prettier than people, or I'm judging people's looks. And it's like, I don't understand that. Meanwhile, I'm here a pretty decently insecure person, like a person who has my fair share of insecurities. I never sit up here and talk about how I'm prettier than people. Like, what are you talking about?
So you've heard of the...
Yeah, I want to speak to that.
I saw that girl yesterday. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I think I saw a TikTok of her yesterday bashing Lily Tino.
Yeah, she did have one.
Right? Okay, I was like, am I tripping?
Yeah, no, she did make one. I think she made valid points in that Lily Tina one, but this one here is just completely in like crazy.
I think that's why it's weird to me that I just saw that and now I'm seeing this and I'm like, how are you gonna bash Lily Tino and Blaire White at the same time? As if, like, what? Like, the Lily Tino one made sense.
Yes,
but this is senseless.
Absolutely. And the thing is that, yeah, I can't name you, and I'm sure where people get this is the moments where Blair's talking about, somebody's situation and she's talking about what happened. And then she goes for like the colored hair or something like that. Now right. They're like, oh, Blair thinks she's prettier. She's better. No, she's not. She's talking about the situation as it relates to that specific person. Not once has any of that come out of her mouth.
Nope.
Specifically, and I don't know where these people get it. And the thing is honestly, I think what that shares is that because she's not said anything, if all these people think that Blair is saying that she's pretty, I think honestly you're insecure about yourself and you feel like you look a certain way. So now you're trying to project that and say that somebody else is saying that because you look at this person and you say, wow, they are really pretty, because you're acknowledging it in a way. You know they look pretty and you're like, I'm not at the same level. So now I have to like make up for that by making this whole conversation.
Yeah, it's like I said earlier. I mean, it's serving jealousy because she doesn't say these things that people are saying that she says. And she's right. It's always about her looks. It's always like, oh, Blair thinks she's so much pretty. No, babe, you think that Blair's prettier than you. And now you're projecting that onto Blair because it has to be her fault. It's giving narcissist. It's giving it can't be my fault. It has to be somebody else's fault. Must be Blair's because she's prettier than me. Work your ass off like she did then. Do what she did. Like, instead of like being so intimidated by her, why not get this, like, take the inspiration from her? Because that's the only thing I ever pulled from watching her videos, is that I am so inspired by who she is and the way that she's gone about her transition and the way that she has achieved it and everything that she's doing. I mean, she's constantly going out and doing shit. Like, and she did that herself. She did that. She is a self-made queen through and through and through in all sorts of different aspects. And I think that is something to be inspired by and to look up to. And so it's like, y'all wanting to bash her is so weird. It's so bizarre. It's like, I've worked in the food industry for a very long time, since I was very young. And it's kind of giving that same environment where, like, this person comes in and they want the management job. And so now, like, instead of learning from the manager that you've got and trying to get to their level and do your own thing, like, you just want to take what this person has. And it's a human nature thing, because I've seen it countless amounts of time at this point. But it's just like with Blair, like, when you're working in a restaurant or in close proximity to someone and it's in that realm, like, you kind of know who they are a little bit more. but you don't even really know her. And you'll make all sorts of wild accusations about who she is as a person. Like, it's just jealousy. That's the only thing I can peg it as, is they're just incredibly jealous that they don't look like her. They don't have the success she does. You know, she's just recognizable, and people want that. People want fame. They're greedy, and they want what she has, and they're just jealous about it. And I think it's disgusting.
Right. I feel like people need to work hard for it. Like like me, I'm a person who thinks Blair's pretty, right?
Yeah,
It's
of
very
course. She's
clear. But
gorgeous.
at the same time, I'm not going to hate on her.
Right.
If I feel a little insecure looking at Blair, what I need to do is I need to work on myself. That's what I
Correct.
need to do. It's
Yep.
not on Blair.
Yep. And I would say like Buck was like that for me. You know, Buck was this very masculine guy as far as and then I looked at like old pictures of him. I was like, holy shit, that's crazy. Like, I cannot believe that's the same person. But Buck was like the first person as a trans man that I looked up to, that I wanted to model myself after. Now, granted, I'm not as built as Buck by any means, but I've definitely like, he made me want to be masculine, and showed me that like it was possible. Because there was a long time I didn't think it would ever be possible for me to look that way. And then I look at Buck, who's been doing this when I first found him for like 20 something years, maybe 15, 20 years. But even then, like, I was like, oh shit, like this can happen. Like, I can get there. I just have to work on it. I just have to build myself up to that, because even Buck didn't look that way originally. It's because Buck worked his ass off for it. And Blair did the same thing. It's like, we should be inspired as trans people by these people, because they are showing us that it can be done. You can live a life that you are happy with and that you feel comfortable with yourself. And even like she said, even still in that, she still has insecurities. She's still a person, It's just, I don't know. It's crazy to me. They love to hate her for no reason.
Exactly. That's what it is, honestly, at the end of the day.
Expression Uncle Tom. I know it sounds like I'm about to swerve out of my lane, but I promise I'm not. I was thinking of using this term for trans people who are awful to other trans people, but I'm a white lady and that kind of felt very uncomfy. So I've got an alternative term for true scums and passing white trans women, and that is a cousin Blair.
So first of all, brush your teeth. You literally sat there and had the thought process, how can I find an offensive word to call trans people I disagree with? How can I invent a slur to call trans people who don't do and say exactly what I want them to do? And yet, announcement for your dumbass, I'm actually biracial. So according to your own oppression Olympics, you're really just some basic white broad who sat up here, invented a slur for someone you thought was a white trans woman who's actually a biracial trans woman. And it's all based on the fact that I don't think exactly how you want me to think, because I should be submissive to you, right? White lady, right? Sorry for getting out of line. Imagine really thinking that you're on the side of trans people while reducing their agency down to must have opinions that are preset in my mind for them to have. These people are literally morons.
Who cares about?
Yeah, she left no crumbs. Exactly. Like, you're trying to come up with a slur, essentially, because that's what an Uncle Tom, like, right? Because even in the beginning, she said, I'm not comfortable. That made me feel weird. But you feel totally fine referring to them as this slur that you've made up to call them that. But yeah, tell me how much you support trans people and how important trans people are to you. For sure.
Yeah, that's crazy to like even think about creating a slur to call other trans people. I don't think you realize that, but that's transphobic.
Exactly. And you love to use that word so much. So here you go. Let me gift it back to you. You transphobe. That is ridiculous.
That's what it is. I mean,
absolutely.
I wouldn't know any other way to put that other than transphobic.
It's crazy. And it's like, Blair doesn't do anything like that. And she's the one getting called transphobic all the time? Nah. No, y'all are definitely the transphobic ones, because this is clearly a genuine trans person that you are trying to attack, that you do not agree with. That's transphobic. I'm so sorry. But like, and it's crazy to like want to come up with a slur for people strictly because they don't believe the same things that you believe. That's a cult. It's giving cult. It's crazy. It's even still, like, I watch so many cult documentaries. I'm fascinated by them. When you look at the left, look at all this, like, well, just, go no contact with your parents, go no contact with your family. That is one of the first tactics of a cult. because they can't get into your head and get into you and sink their teeth in with other people back here telling you what's actually right. It's the oldest cult trick in the book, and they're doing it, and we're just turning a blind eye to it and acting like it's not happening. It's absolutely crazy. You have to
Not
believe
us,
what
though.
we do. You have to preach the things we do. You need to disconnect from your family. That's a cult.
Right.
But even with us, like, there are certain things that I don't think Blair and I would necessarily agree on all the way through, but I'm sure as hell not going to come up with some slur for her, and I know she's not going to do that to me. So there's just a very blatant difference in like the types of people that we're talking about here, and Blair is not the problem. Like, it's so obvious she is not the problem.
Right. 100%.
Of friends. In this world, there are shepherds and there are sheep, and Lindsay is a major sheep. I'm just picturing Trent.
Yeah, I'm the sheep standing here on my own, trying to carve out a new path, and you're the shepherd trying to jump on an anti-Blaire White algorithm hate train. You totally don't have that backwards.
All right.
I love when she laughs at things. I love
do
when her
too.
laugh comes out. It's so funny. It gets me every time. But I mean, she's right. Like, how is she the sheep? Right? She has been so awesome. I mean, if she is a sheep, it's the black sheep. That is the only way you can tie that word to her. And I get it, because I am too. I totally understand. But in as far as like my thought processes, the way that I live my life, no. She's not sheep, you're not sheep, I'm not sheep, Buck's not sheep. Like, it is so crazy that that's like, it's the only thing they can say. And again, where are the facts? Where is an example of us being sheep? Like, where you can genuinely prove that that's what's happening, that this wasn't just our own independent thought. Don't come with any claims. It's just a cutesy video to get views. It's sad. It's sad.
It really is.
Me blacklisted and harassed for the next 3 years of my life. But let's talk about my issues with Blaire White. It's her blatant disrespect to the trans community. The fact that she treats non-passing women as less than, and has bullied a lot of trans women on here.
Again, these people invent that I really talk about people's passability. I'm sorry, is it passability that I have talked about like that man with the beard going into the woman's restroom? Is that me really talking about passability for making just a common sense argument that, hey, maybe the reason people are upset that you're going in the men's bathroom is because you are presenting entirely as male? Is that about passability? Is that about judging trans women who just maybe have a harder look to them and maybe aren't as lucky as other trans women? Or is that me making a very clear distinction between a trans woman and a man posing as a trans woman?
Yep.
That part.
Yep. Like, dude, oh my God. Like, again, in that No Jumper interview, they kind of get into this topic, right? And they're talking about it. And it's just crazy how they don't understand the difference. Because they're even conceding that, like, yeah, but that's men. Yeah, but that's men doing that. That's not trans women. Yeah, exactly. That's the exact point that we're making. You're only fighting because you've already decided in your head that you hate us. Why? Because you are afraid of also being ostracized the way that Blair has. So you recognize that it's happening. You just don't want to do it because why? You're probably not strong enough to do it. You're not Blair. And again, that leads into the jealousy. It's all like the dots are just dotting. You know what I mean? And it's just crazy to me because they understand that, like, yeah, that's men that are doing that. Exactly. That's why Blair is calling this out, because I'm sorry, that's not a woman. That is not a woman. If I saw, and I know this creator, I've seen they pop up on lives a lot, and it's always full beard, and there's no effort, and it's just like, you expect me to register that and just trust that you're just this sweet little innocent trans woman? I can't. I'm not going to do that. You are asking way too much of somebody, because what if my safety is at risk and I'm just supposed to believe that you're safe for me because you said you are? No, you're asking me to go against my better judgment, and that's not fair at all. That is absolutely insane. I just don't get it. I just do not understand. Like, are so upset at these men who do this, but then you don't want to hold anybody accountable that's actually doing it because they say they're trans. I just can't make that connect. It does not make any sense to me.
Right. We can't allow that. We have to like hold people accountable, and that's all she's doing is holding people accountable. She's not out here telling people like, oh, you're not doing enough to pass or etc. No, she's holding these people accountable as we should.
Correct.
As we should.
It's not about passability. This is not a passability thing. It's not like it's such a reach. It's such a reach.
It really is, honestly.
You tell me, maybe I'm crazy. Okay, that was actually funny. I will give you that. But yeah, people love bringing up that tweet where I say stop ending friendships over political differences. And it's like, no one's talking about people who want your family to be broken apart. No one's talking about people who actually hold extremist views. But the problem is, y'all will really sit up here and end friendships over like, I believe in free speech. I believe in the Second Amendment. And that to y'all is like, y'all are going to cut people off. But it's like, that's what I'm actually talking about. All right, I'm over it. I'm so over it, I'm under it. I will see you guys in the next video. Make sure you subscribe to this channel as well as my podcast channel. Make sure you follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.
Such a queen. Such a queen. I absolutely adore her. Yeah, it's just... And even in that last one, like, you jumped to the, oh, well, you know, I think your family should be deported. She didn't say that. So what, like... what's your point? Like, it's just weird, and that's not what that tweet means at all. I just wish people would stop trying to like dissect things and make sense of them when like you can't even make sense of who you are as a person. Like, sorry, but like you don't even know who you are, but you think that you can dissect all these things and make sense of that. Like, there's not a logical thought in your brain. So just stop while you're ahead, you know? Like, quit making assumptions. You don't actually know what's going on. Like Blair said, she's talking about like, you know, oh, well, like that would be like my brother who is like slightly more liberal than I am. I mean, I would say he's a bit more liberal than I am, just wanting to completely cut me off because he knows how I feel about certain things. There's certain aspects that we have on the political scale that don't really line up, but he loves me and he knows that I'm his brother and that I love him and I love my nephew and we're family and all this. So that just doesn't matter. You want me to just cut off all contact with him for that? That's ridiculous. That's absolutely crazy. That does not have to be that way. And again, it comes back to the whole cult shit, right? That's what Blair's trying to fight. She's like trying to save these people from a cult that they don't even realize that they're in, but she's the bad guy. And that's how that goes, right? Like if you watch like the Twin Flame universe stuff, right? Like a lot of those kids are angry with their parents and all their parent is trying to do is save them from this delusional man who thinks he's God. It's why are they the bad guy? And the whole time you're watching it, you're just so frustrated. Like, just listen to your mom. Just listen to Mother Blair, please. I am begging you. We could maybe make this world a little bit easier to live in if people would just listen instead of assume things about her. It's just insane. It's insane.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know. It's crazy. I've always been like somebody who's totally against that whole, oh, you're this, so I have to cut you off. You're that, so I have to cut you off. It's like, that is so childish.
Exactly.
It really is. But yeah, I don't know. I think at the end of this, hopefully whoever's watched or listened, you genuinely understand that Blair is not a problem. If anything, she is the solution. I would say honestly, her and Buck are the solution for the trans community right now. They speak the most amount of facts. They do the most advocating on both sides of the equation. And I mean, they're the right people to look up to. I mean,
and they're a good example too. You know, it's like we were talking about, like they are so composed and they are so like unbothered by the bullshit. Like there's some times where they're like, obviously, like you're gonna get a little snippy, right? When people are consistently coming for you, like at a certain point you have to protect yourself as well, right? So you're gonna kind of give it back, but it's warranted at that point. But they always hold their composure, and I think that's a lot of like, they have genuinely inspired me to speak the way that I speak. Because, you know, even like you were saying, like when you're on my lives, like people come at me, man, and they say some real heinous, off the wall stuff in the comment section, and or even in the box sometimes, and I just don't budge, you know? I'll make a joke about it and I'll move on. And I really genuinely credit that to watching them and being inspired by them. And it's allowed me to change so many people's minds on trans people and give them a reason to actually take the time to get to know the trans person before making an assumption. And that's what all of these people that are talking about Blair are doing. And I'm out here reversing that on the other side of things, the side they say hates us so much. That's what Blair's doing. That's what Buck's doing. That's what we're all actually making a difference for good. We're not trying to turn people onto people. We're trying to open up people's minds to be more loving and caring. But yeah, you're right. We're the bad guys for sure. For sure.
Yeah, it's crazy, but I definitely hope that, anyone listening definitely sees that, it's honestly what people need to hear and don't want to hear.
Yep.
And I get it. Maybe that's hard to digest for some people, but I mean, if it sounds right, it's right. I mean, the thing is that's how all these people are getting offended by it. It's got to be the truth.
Yep. It's pretty
So,
telling.
But yeah, I don't quite know what we have put together for the next podcast, so just stay tuned. We'll keep it a surprise for now because I don't know what is to come next Sunday or next Sunday's podcast. But thank everybody for listening. I really appreciate it. As always, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to subscribe, like the video. If you're listening on Spotify, I think there's a way to rate the show however you feel about it. I'm cool with it either way. However you like the show, please, give us some feedback. Also, I'm a little curious because I noticed that we do have the option to go live now. I would be curious if some of you actually would be interested in seeing these podcasts live. I would be
awesome.
totally okay with doing them live if people are interested. So if you're interested and you're watching this on Facebook or YouTube or however, please, or TikTok, however, you want to watch the podcast and share that feedback, please let us know what you think. I think it could be really interesting to do a live one. So definitely let me know.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. That'd be really cool. I hope that we can dive into that.
Absolutely. But yeah, everyone have a good one. And thank you for watching the podcast or
Bye,
listening.
guys.